What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Steep Stuff Podcast. I'm your host, James Lariello, and I'm so excited to bring you guys an episode today with none other than Michael Earnhart. This one's a little bit different. I'm super excited because Michael's first sport is not trail running. I struck a conversation with Michael about a month removed from his third place finish at Cirque Series Alaska. If you guys do know that name, you probably know him first and foremost as a Nordic skier. Michael was most notably known for his 2022 bronze medal finish at the men's relay in the junior world championships for Nordic skiing. So he competes for the U.S. Nordic skiing team. Guys, kid is a absolute beast, total stud. Someone I was excited to have on the podcast. We talked a lot about training. Most notably, it just piqued my curiosity because I wanted to learn more about how Nordic skiers train, and just about how and why that crosses over so well to the trail running world. Why you've seen athletes such as Sam Hendry, Sophia Lockley, and so many others come into the scene and absolutely dominate. So great conversation. Really appreciative for Michael and his ability to come on and talk about his training and what he's been up to. And talk about, some of the races that he's done and what makes them so special. So without further ado, hope you enjoy it. None other than Michael Earnhart.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are live.
Michael Earnhart, welcome to the Steep Stuff Podcast. How's it going, man?
Really good. Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm super stoked to have you on the pod. This is a conversation I've been wanting to have for a while. After, obviously you've had a bunch of really solid finishes about marathon. You're kind of very, very well known, obviously, on the ski side, as well as kind of the running side, as well as Cirque Series Alaska. I was like, I've got to have this kid on the podcast. It'd be definitely worth a solid conversation. So I'm glad we were able to do this. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, again, thanks for having me. I'd love to talk about racing and training. It's fun.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah, dude. So as we get started, maybe give me the 5-minute elevator pitch. Talk about kind of your main modalities of training and skiing, things like that. Maybe talk about how you kind of got into the sport, where you're from, things like that.
Yeah, lifelong Alaskan, Anchorage, Alaska, the big city basically up here. And originally got into skiing kind of in middle school because that's what all the fast runners were doing. And I was pretty into running at the time. But then about my freshman year of high school, I got pretty good at skiing and made junior nationals for the first time and was competitive there. And that kind of started to change the direction of like which athletic was the top priority in my life. Because then the following year I made my first international trip for skiing, and that kind of sold me then. Because running I guess it's just a lot more competitive in the country, and like I was good in Alaska, but good in Alaska didn't always translate to kind of good in the nation and didn't really open up the same opportunities. Going to Estonia as a sophomore in high school kind of makes you want to ski more than run, I guess. So I still I love running for sure, and I love doing the trail races in the summer. But yeah, skiing's the number one priority, and I basically structure everything around that. And then running is a pretty good byproduct from that. And so I can do pretty well in the summer running races. But I really don't do anything too different from other skiers to prioritize those races or anything. It just, it works out well with the way we train. We do a lot of roller skiing in the summer, a little bit of running. And then this summer we got our glacier facility back. So we've gone up to the glacier and skied on snow a couple times this year. And, in the winter, we run maybe 10 miles a week, and it's 30-minute jogs that are 10 minutes per mile or slower. So, but yeah, it all works out, I guess. It's good enough to get me on a podcast.
Dude, talk about that glacier facility. I think I can't remember if I was Googling you or if I was lurking your Instagram, but I saw a video of that glacier facility and that place is dope. Talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty incredible because normally, especially in the US, it feels like cross-country skiing is a really small sport that not many people care about. But, up here in Alaska, the community's strong. And I mean, somehow we have this just incredible facility up on the glacier, kind of through a partnership with the government a little bit. The land is leased from them, and they've given us a lot of grants in order to build the facility. But yeah, I mean, it just makes a big difference to be able to train on snow in the summer because in the winter, we just don't train that much because you're so busy racing. And so having these weeks in the summer where we can go up there and just ski 4 or 5 hours a day, in a variety of conditions, like the skill building is huge because that's a big difference with skiing from other endurance sports is that there is a big technical aspect of it, based on the snow conditions and then also skate versus classic and yeah, there's just kind of a lot of nuance. So be able to just really get those Ks on snow and just so much time, it makes a big difference. And the facility just got upgraded. It was out of commission the last like 4 or 5 years because of an earthquake kind of destroyed the old building. But yeah, now we got a new one. So it's our first year kind of breaking that in and everything was shiny and yeah, it was really sweet.
How much time can you spend? Because I saw they had like living quarters in there. Do you just like spend like weeks on end living up there or like how does that work?
Oh, we just do a week at a time. Like kind of the way we train normally is like 3 weeks on, 1 week off, kind of. And so we would do 2 weeks on in town, kind of dry land training. Then we would do 1 week up on the glacier. And then we'd have a recovery week where we kind of step back. And, we still train a bit, but we don't kind of like meet for practice as much, a lot more flexible, like, go fishing or something, get out and about, kind of a mental reset. So
Interesting. All right. So I'm not going to hide it. I really want to get into the first thing we got to talk about is training, just because like, I think like one of the interesting things for me is, you see your Sam Hendrys of the world, David Norris, like quite a few people you probably know come into the trail world and absolutely dominate. And I think a lot of it has to do with the type of training you guys do. Like you might not run a ton, like you said, maybe 10 miles a week, something like that. But when you guys show up to race, you always dominate. And I think everything has to do with the way you guys train and how it's more hours based. Obviously, there's a lot of intensity and threshold. Can you talk about why it transfers so well? Like how do you stack your training and how does training like work for you in the ski world? And why do you think that translates so well to trail running?
yeah, I mean, part of it I think is just like the trail running is a much kind of slower sport compared to road running or track running. Like which is a much more specific strength, like very, speed based. And we don't do very much speed work at all, but we do a lot of kind of slower motions and a lot of time under tension in the legs. Like, I mean, skiing it uses your legs a ton, right? So it does make us very strong on those uphills and then just builds a huge cardiovascular base. I mean, historically, cross-country skiers, have always had some of the highest VO2 maxes, like going back to Bjorn Dolly and such. And so we just have these massive engines, and then you kind of have to just build a little bit of specific running strength. I mean, some people, especially the Sam Hendrys, Sophia Lockleys, like you were mentioning, like they do a bit more running specific, and then it's able to translate quite well. And I mean, I don't know for sure, like I don't know many like kind of pure trail running athletes, but my impression is certainly that trail running is kind of a much newer sport and like the kind of the periodized and more scientific training hasn't really hit the sport as much. And so I think you see a lot of people kind of going out every day and just kind of going hard. Like if they feel good, they go hard, and they don't have as structured of training. And so it's really nice coming from the ski background. Like, I mean, the training is incredibly structured. You have very clear, levels that you should be in on different days. And then that translates well to just having these different gears on race day. And I think that doesn't always happen in trail running, but as a sport, I mean, because the sport has really been taken off in the last couple decades. So I think that's kind of coming that way. And it'll be interesting to see how, if skiers are still able to take the top spots as like people become more trail specific athletes. Because also like, kind of the more premier running sport is generally more track or marathons or something. So if you start taking some of those top athletes and maybe they want to go specifically for trail, that might change things a lot. I mean, who knows?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the big two is really it's skiers and then steeplechasers. It seems like steeplechasers also do extremely well. And that's obviously a different conversation, but you guys, for some reason, like it's very interesting to me, the heart rate based training. You don't go off a field, do you? Is it all basically what zones I need to hit and basically training within those?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of becomes the same thing. Like when you train off heart rate enough, you kind of just figure out what it feels like. So like a lot of days I don't wear a heart rate monitor, because I just kind of know my body well enough. Certainly for like level one type things. And then, when you're trying to hit threshold, it's like, okay, am I clearing the lactate as I go or not? It's kind of, so you can still go off feel quite a bit, but it is like you're feeling for a zone and not just like I feel like I want to go faster. Sometimes you feel like you want to go faster, but you're still going to stay on that slower track or whatever.
Gotcha. Interesting. And so all right, so you kind of alluded to, okay, mountain running in the summer, that's kind of how it fits into your calendar. It's just basically fitness building for you and all for a means to an end for skiing. But races like Cirque Series Alaska, races like Mount Marathon, are those, I would assume because they're race based, that's workout for you. Is that how you treat it, as a workout or like a hard intensity effort or?
No, I mean, I'm for sure, I'm doing the race because I want to race. Like,
Okay.
and because I really enjoy, especially Mount Marathon in front of all the people and stuff. And like, I grew up loving running. It's definitely like we're doing the races to have fun and, do the whole race, and everything. But it does, it counts as a hard session for sure. Like, well, that is, we don't change the training much until you get to that week of the race. Like we normally do 2 or 3 intensity sessions a week, and one of those will be switched to be the race, basically, and it will be the level 4. The harder session will end up being just like a race effort on a mountain. And it is unique in Alaska too. The steeper races work a lot better for us skiers, because you need even less of that specific running strength. Like, Mount Marathon includes a lot of hiking, and that is where like the skiing muscles really translate well. Like you don't need to do much actual footwork to get that kind of under your belt.
Interesting. Do you spend a lot of time in the gym? Like, do you guys lift a ton?
Not a ton. I mean, we typically lift about 2 days a week. And that can it's a pretty big variety. Like it is mostly kind of a more injury prevention type of lifting, although we do like try to build some power for sure, do some heavier lifting. And yeah, I mean, it kind of changes a bit throughout the year, but it's not a big priority for us, certainly not like a team sport, like a football team or something like that, but it is, it is in the training plan for sure. And we all hit it on a regular basis. So.
Interesting. How do you like training with the team? Like you said, when you mentioned, like you talk about we all and like a group, is it like a big group of guys and girls? Like how big is this group and what's it like being on a team?
Yeah, I mean, I'm quite lucky to be here in Alaska training with the APU team. It is, I mean, the best team in the country by the numbers. Like we make up, generally like half the US ski team and things like that. And it is, I mean, I couldn't do it without a team. I don't know how there's people that train solo every session and I just don't get it personally. It is great to be able to have people to get out and just, get the hours in with, especially just all the easy sessions. Like I think intensity is one thing when you have a little more focused goal and you're kind of doing shorter times, but just, the everyday, like you got to get out and go for a couple hours. Like that is really nice to have people to go with and talk to, and then learn from too. Just, again, with the skiing, like it's a lot more of a technical sport. So being able to ski behind someone who's faster than you, or they don't even have to be faster even, but like skiing behind someone to kind of learn something from them. I think, I mean, working with a team is phenomenal and it keeps your goals a little more clear. You're like, you go to training and you're like, this is where I need to be. I need to be able to ski with this person this winter or whatever. So it's great to have a team for sure.
How does the competition season work for you guys? Like obviously I would imagine it's based on around the season. It's all winter based, but like how many competitions, just cause I feel like from skiing, you can recover a little bit faster. Like how many competitions are you doing in your season?
Yeah. I mean, it can be a big range, but I would say we typically race 25 to 40 times a winter. 40 is at the very high end, like someone doing the full World Cup season would be more along the 40 lines. And then someone that's staying more domestic might be more like 25. But I mean, you can race 2 or 3 times most weekends, or the racing blocks will normally be, especially on the World Cup. The US is normally just kind of like a little bit less racing than World Cup, but World Cup will be 3 weeks of 3 races every weekend. and then like a week or two break, and it'll be that kind of 4 times throughout the winter. Um, and yeah, you like it's definitely without the high impact of running, like you can race more for sure in skiing. But it's still, the fatigue adds up and, you got to drop the training volume to reflect that. But yeah, number of efforts throughout the year. And yeah.
How do you like that? How do you like as far as like traveling to race and do it? Like, do you absolutely love this?
I mean, just like the actual traveling part as is not that fun really, because you just kind of like travel to a hotel room or an Airbnb and sit around because you got to stay rested for the races, so you don't like. I've been to a lot of places, but I feel like I haven't really seen them that much, when you're there for a race trip. But it is quite cool to kind of race all sorts of different places. And just in general, I think it's really nice to race that many times. Like if you have a bad race, it's like, all right, like I got to wait 2 weeks and then, I can do better. Or maybe it's just you have a bad race on Friday and then you can have a good race on Saturday. There's a lot of opportunities, which is nice. I feel, it's tough with running. Like I do 3 or 4 running races a summer, and so it's easy to be pretty disappointed about the entire summer of running because I wasn't good on my 3 days.
Yeah.
It's yeah.
I get that. I get that. Dude, what is the goal for you? Is it to like make an Olympic team? Like what, like how do you count these goals? Like how does it work for you?
Yeah, I mean, I try to look more at the smaller goals normally of just kind of like trying to get better every day because I think it's a little daunting to just look at the big goal. But I mean, certainly, like I just want to be the best skier I can be, and I hope that means I make the Olympics and that I do well at the Olympics, or do well on the World Cup. Like, I mean, I just get on the start line and I want to beat everyone, kind of, it's just about being competitive, and we'll see how far that takes me.
How does that process work? Because I understand skimo pretty well. I have a lot of friends on the skimo team trying to make, I guess, bidding, going through the World Cup process, bidding, and then fighting against Canada to try to get, I guess, from the skimo situation. How does it work for Nordic? Is it a similar process where it's North American based, and then it'll either be Canada, USA, or Mexico? Like, how does it work for like the USA to get in, or I guess go to the Olympics and stuff like that on Nordic skiing?
Yeah, there's a pretty like if you just look at the paperwork, it's kind of a complicated qualifying process, but the short version of the story is you want to ski World Cup and do well on the World Cup, and that'll get you to the Olympics. And it's tough, because it's not, it's not a very big team, right? You can only start like 4 people per race, and then the total team has to be under 7 or 8 people for each gender. So it's not, I mean, there's not a ton of spots. So basically, in the World Cup on a normal day, you get 7 or 8 starts. So basically, the Olympic team will come from the World Cup. So then the goal is to basically qualify for the World Cup, which you qualify for that either from previous World Cup races, or if you're on the domestic side of things, like I'm starting this year domestically. If you're the overall kind of tour leader from the domestic circuit from one of the periods, then you get the World Cup starts for the next period. So basically the goal, right now for me is to beat all the other people who are going to be racing the North America circuit in December and be the overall kind of leader there so that I can go to the World Cup and give myself a chance. Otherwise, there are like kind of some stipulations for qualifying from the US if the team is not filled from the World Cup. But we're at a point for our nation like where we're competitive enough that probably the whole team will come from the World Cup. But yeah, the actual like the kind of details of how that qualifying work is a little messy. But long story short, got to make the World Cup and do well over there.
Interesting. How do us Americans stack up against the Euros? Are we pretty good?
Oh, we're getting a lot better. Certainly like, and it kind of comes in waves. Like our women's team is quite strong right now. For sure. I mean, Jessie Diggins won the overall World Cup last year, and we've got some other great skiers on the team. And then our men's team, like we're really kind of, it's a new generation coming through that's really kind of stepping things up from the previous generation. Like, Gus Schumacher just is our incredible athlete who won his first World Cup, not this past season, but the year before. And then this last year, top 10 multiple times, got on the podium. And Ben Ogden, kind of same story, starting to get all those top 10s and podiums. And like, yeah, we got a lot more guys that are like kind of every race top 30, and then sometimes doing, top 15s. Because it used to be like when I was in high school, it was kind of more like it was a good day for the men when someone was in the top 30, just one person. But now, I mean, we've got, at least three people kind of every day in the top 30. So yeah, we're getting a lot better, but it is a lot of those, the Norwegians especially are just absolutely dominating the men's field right now. But I mean, as people like Gus and Ben and JC have shown, like we are totally capable of being up there. So I think this generation coming through now is going to be quite special because I mean, we're talking about like Gus, Ben, and JC are 25 years old, so we got a lot more years of them, and they're already this good. So.
Wow, that's so interesting. Dude, at what point in time did you realize like you could make a go at this, like career wise? Like, did you decide while you were kind of finishing high school that you're like, man, I want to do this professionally, or?
Yeah, I'm not sure when that exactly came. I mean, I think it probably came the year after high school. Like, originally in high school, I was like, skiing's cool. It's taken me to a couple cool places, but I was definitely thinking I was just going to use it to kind of ski in college somewhere, like it, I don't know, it would be fun to ski on an NCAA team and get some scholarship, whatever. Like that was kind of the plan originally. But then I think I think watching this generation of guys like start doing better on the international stage kind of changed it for me a bit because I think that was part of it. Like I didn't like, when thinking the ceiling was like 35th place on the World Cup or something, that didn't really inspire me to want to like compete at the highest level. But now seeing that like there's, you know, I we have people that can get top tens and top fives and all that, I'm like, okay, then I want to give it a shot and see if I can be one of those people. Like it seems much more possible now. So yeah, I think kind of after high school, when I started watching these guys really take off on the World Cup, it was when I decided, wait a second, like I'm pretty good. Like I want to really actually give this a shot. So
Let's talk professionalization. Like, how dialed are you guys? Like, is it like you watch everything you eat? Are you super careful about diet? Do you guys do the sports psych thing? Because I see a lot of trail runners in the professional space that are like, work with dietitians, they're working with mental coaches. They're doing the whole game. Do you guys do that too? Like, what do you guys do as far as the
yeah, I mean, we have like access to nutritionists for sure, especially on the US ski team, but they are just looking for deficiencies in our diet, basically. So, a lot of people, it's vitamin D and iron and like kind of those standard things. But there's basically no, I mean, there's, maybe some veganism or vegetarian thing like that, but not, I mean, other than that, there's no dieting. Like, I mean, it is just so hard to eat enough food to continue to fuel our bodies that it's like, I mean, a lot of us just go through tons of sweets and cookies and ice cream, whatever. Like, I mean, it just takes so many carbs to keep the body going. We're not concerned about like calories or hitting weight because, I mean, to be quite honest, it's just really hard to gain weight. I mean, I never think about what I eat. I eat like, you kind of look at it and think, oh, this is a horrible diet, maybe. But I just continue to stay like really skinny, basically. So definitely like diet is not really a concern and other than just making sure you eat enough because it is so hard to stay healthy year round if you're not eating enough. And you gotta, especially in skiing, you need a little more power. You gotta be stronger. You gotta be a little bigger.
Yeah.
But then sports psych for sure. A lot of people use sports psych, especially through the US ski team. They have a couple sports psych and, some people go out of the team if they want. But yeah, that's definitely a big part. I would say on the US ski team, like probably 90% of people use a sports psych. Beyond that, I think it's very few people maybe use it just because it's maybe not as normalized yet, I guess, and the resources aren't as obvious. Like on the US ski team, they're very clear, like, here's our sports psych, like, please contact them. Whereas I think if you're just on a college team or a club team, like, APU doesn't have a sports psych on hand. So that would mean you got to go through your own insurance and look for, someone in town or whatever. But yeah, I think everyone's very open to it and a lot of people do it for sure.
I think there's something to it. And the only reason I bring that up is because I've been listening to a couple podcasts lately, but like these are different types of athletes that use them. And just to get that like extra little mental unlock, I was like, huh. If you have like anxiety on a race day or just something, I feel like everybody obviously goes to a start line nervous. Like if you're not nervous on a start line, like, I feel like everybody is. But just to get that like 1 or maybe even half to 1% of like just I don't know, just getting that unlock might like helps a ton. I don't know. So something I've been thinking about a lot lately. It's interesting stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
Let me ask you this: like, where are you? Are you competing again, running wise, this year, or are you kind of phasing in? Now that we're in August, going into September, I feel like we're phasing into fall, if you will, and the snow will fly for you pretty soon, I would imagine.
Yeah, I mean, I probably won't get on snow until like October, but yeah, at this point, just kind of focusing on skiing. There's not really in Alaska, there's not much more for any like kind of big mountain races. I had looked at previously kind of going down to the lower 48 for a Cirque Series race.
Dude, we'd love
But
to
it's
have
looking
you.
for one that linked up with we have a camp in October down in Park City, but the timing didn't quite work out, so I'm just sticking with this for now. And it's like those running races are they're fun, but with the downhills, it is pretty hard on the body. Like the recovery window is pretty long. So this time of year, it's kind of like, it's time to really start focusing on skiing maybe. So I don't normally do more than 4 running races in a summer. That's kind of the magic number. And 2 of those are uphill only. So
Interesting. Dude, let's talk Mount Marathon. I feel like this has got to be a special race for you. You've done this a bunch, as high as 4th place, and this past year you were 12th at Mount Marathon. Like, you're so consistent at this race. What does it mean to you? Like, how special of a race is Mount Marathon for you?
yeah, I mean, Mount Marathon's funny because it kind of doesn't matter what I do in skiing a little bit. Like people around town, they know about Mount Marathon. They don't know about, some random ski result from the other side of the country or in the World Cup or something like that. Like, that's the biggest race in Alaska. I mean, that's the best way to put it. Everyone kind of sees it. So that's kind of the best opportunity for me to showcase what I've been doing with my life, kind of in terms of like fitness and all that. And so it's just, yeah, it's fun to go down there and like you see so many friends that you haven't seen in years or whatever that you only see down there. And it's just a really big community. And like I said, like it's a pretty unique race with how steep it is. So it works well with the skiing. And I mean, it's been getting, so it's always been popular in Alaska, obviously, but then it's been getting a lot more popular, kind of across the nation. Like, you see more and more competitive runners come up for it and really like kind of increase just the depth of the field, which is really cool to see because a lot of the mountain races are not the most competitive, they're just like not super deep fields, but yeah, getting these like really deep fields is really cool. And like to actually kind of see how you stack up against people outside of Alaska as well is quite fun. So yeah, I mean, it's one of my favorite events, to spend July 4th down in Seward and just have a good fun time.
That's what's funny, dude. That's one of the ways I knew your name was from the Mount Marathon live stream. Them talking about you. So when I saw you get on the podium of Cirque Series Alaska, I was like, damn, I know that name from somewhere. Sure as shit, that's what it was from. Was the Mount Marathon live stream, which is cool. Dude, are you just gonna keep coming back till you get on the podium or win? Like, what's the plan for this one? I mean, you're so damn close. Like, it's got to happen one of these years.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it's definitely. I mean, I'll probably keep doing it just about every year. I don't really see why I would stop ever. It's hard to imagine a world where that happens. And it definitely, I feel a little bit stronger on races with some downhill. I think that's part of the reason Cirque went well. I was 6th to the top, but then 3rd at the bottom. So Mount Marathon doesn't quite have as long of a downhill as Cirque, but it is definitely still helps me. I can move up some spots normally there. So yeah, I mean, I keep hoping things go right. This year just didn't seem to be in my best shape because I definitely had much better uphills at Bird Ridge and Cirque. But that's just kind of how it goes sometimes. I mean, the year that I was 4th, it was a lot colder and muddy, and I think kind of those conditions maybe worked a little better for me. But yeah, I think this year I could have ran a little more. A couple sessions I could have switched from roller skiing to running, and that might have helped, or a little more kind of hiking specific things. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of, it's fine margins with sport, right? Like you can, if you're off by 2%, that makes a big difference on race day. So I don't know, but it's still so fun. Like I'm not really that upset about being 12th, I'd love to be.
Yeah, I wouldn't care.
It's all good.
Yeah, it's still dope as shit, dude. It's still awesome. Let's talk Alaska, because that's what an amazing course. I was supposed to go up this year, and I had a small injury, so didn't wind up making the trip, and I was really bummed. So next year I'll be going there to race. That has got to be that's probably top 5, maybe top 3 best courses in North America in its entirety. Like, so iconic, so beautiful. How did that race go for you? Because it's obviously pretty cool, like to get on a podium next to Noah Williams, who's going to compete at Worlds, and then Jackson Cole is one of the best mountain runners on the planet, who's also going to compete at Worlds. Like, was that a little weird, or was that normal? Like, how did that competition roll for you?
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of weird going into it because I was a little just like a little disappointed with 12th at Mount Marathon. Was kind of like, oh, I guess I kind of, messed up the training this year, maybe not in the best shape. And then I signed up for Cirque, but I was kind of feeling like, why did I sign up? Like, this isn't going to go well. I'm not in that, good place for it right now or whatever. And kind of showed up on race day. I was like, oh man, I just hope I'm top 10. Um, but yeah, the uphill just felt really good. And it's such a cool idea to run up these ski resorts, like, I mean, because it's like that's Alyeska, that's a resort we've all been skiing since we were kids, in elementary school. And so it's pretty iconic to go up that. And it's just a crazy course. Like, I'm kind of surprised they actually have a race on it, to be honest. Going up Center Ridge is so steep and technical. And, they have like 700 runners out there, like trying to climb up this thing, which seems just ridiculous to me. But I mean, people seem to love it. And I know there's like some big backups kind of later back in the mid pack, like people kind of get bunched up there. But yeah, I mean, I just tried to run as much as I could of the first part of it. It's, going up the cat tracks, and the bike trails are a lot flatter. So tried to keep the running mode going until I got to Center Ridge, which was real steep, and got more into a hike. And when I got to Center Ridge, which is about halfway time wise, maybe, and I think I was in fifth or sixth at the time and could see third place. I felt like, hey, I might have a pretty good race today. And I got to the top and kind of looked at my watch, and I was about a minute off of third place. And that's when I knew I could get third place, because I feel pretty good about my downhills normally. So yeah, running across the ridge, started making up ground pretty quick. And yeah, it's a fun course. Like, you see so many different types of terrain, especially on that downhill. I mean, it is a really long downhill, but good variety, especially this year. Like, there's some glissading on a great snow patch, which was really nice, actually. And then you get kind of lower down into some loamy trails, which are probably my favorite part. And then you finish on that just horrible 2 minutes of cat track. Actually, like, running down that just does not feel good. But, by then, thankfully, I was kind of in my position and no one was too close to me. But yeah.
Wow. Amazing result, and just so cool. I gotta ask you this, man, like, with skiing and seeing so much success in, like, from skiers that transition into trail running, is there a chance, like, you, like, at some point in time in your career, like, transition to trail running, like, or mountain running? Because you could be extremely successful at it. I mean, Sophia, there's so many.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's kind of always been my thought a bit, was that I'd go all in on skiing for a while, and then whenever I'm done with that, which I mean, I don't know if that means 1 year, 10 years, whatever, but whenever I'm done with skiing, that I would switch to running, because it isn't, don't need the fast twitch. Like, skiing has, down to a 2.5 minute race. So I need a lot more fast twitch for that. But then I can just build a motor for, a decade or two, and then switch over to running and get some of that specific strength. And I feel like it can still work out quite well. So I think when I'm done with skiing, I won't be done with professional athletics yet. I'll definitely try out some trail running for a while. And maybe Golden Trail World Series, or kind of whatever the option is at the point that I'm done with skiing, which I really don't know when that will be. So
Interesting. So you know about Golden Trail then. So you know the sport. Okay, interesting.
yeah, I mean, I know about it because of Sophia, to be honest. I mean, that she certainly put it on my radar.
Cool, man. No, I'm listen. The reason I bring it up is because, like, obviously you have the talent level to be able to compete with some of the best in the sport. So you're already there. So you never know, dude. There could be a serious future for you. Is there any races that you've seen? I know a lot of Alaskans go down to the rut in Montana. Scott Patterson's had success there. Denali Strabel's had success there. Like, is there any, like, courses in particular in the lower 48 that stick out for you that you'd be interested in doing?
Nothing in particular, I feel like, because normally when I see pictures or videos of the races in the lower 48, they look really hard to me in terms of being hot, dry, and at altitude. And those are some of my least favorite things for sure. But a race that stands out, like, but the Golden Trail World Series a couple of years ago had a pretty technical one in Norway. And I remember the footage of that one being like kind of foggy and rainy. And that seems a lot more up my alley. I think I'm definitely better in kind of colder conditions. I mean, everyone gets hot, I guess, but I I don't know. I haven't had a good mountain marathon when it's sunny. I have good ones when it rains. So I don't know. Trying to do something technical, yeah, technical and a little wet, and hopefully not at altitude. But I don't know. I'm always trying to get better at altitude because we have a lot of races at altitude for skiing as well. So maybe those thoughts will change. But right now, I look at the rut, and I don't know how well I would do at something like that right now.
Yeah, it'd have to snow. I mean, last year it snowed, so it could be. I don't know. It's a trade-off: snow or altitude. I feel it. Do you guys do like altitude camps before races at altitude, or like what do you do to prep for that?
We'll just try to go down like more than, or at least 5 days ahead of altitude for sure, if it's just with the club team. But then the US ski team, like, quite often in championships like Olympics are at altitude. And so they'll generally do like a 2 week altitude camp kind of pre-championship. That's definitely thought about a lot. And like we always do a fall altitude camp in Park City. And then the glacier facility is actually at 5,700 feet. So that's a bit of an altitude camp, although it's only 1 week long. So it's not the most significant maybe, but it's still good to kind of practice that adaptation feeling. So yeah, like it's definitely something we think about. But I don't really know of anyone in the ski community that does any like sleeping in an altitude chamber. They're not quite on the Grant Fisher plan yet. But who knows? Maybe it's coming to the sport.
It's interesting. It's also a trade-off, man. I talk to a lot of athletes about this, where I almost feel like you benefit being at sea level from not just a recovery perspective, but your power generation versus being at high altitude. This is why, like, it always makes me scratch my head. Like, there's athletes like Cam Smith, who's a skimo athlete and hopefully going to be an Olympian this year. And he lives at like 9,000 feet. I'm like, how the hell do you generate that much power, for skimo and things like that, and living that high? And I know like Noah Williams is another one who you raced at Alaska. He lives at 10,000 feet at Leadville. And I just always think about the trade-offs, whereas like you can just generate so much power at sea level versus high altitude that I feel like, I don't know, it's almost an advantage to be at sea level versus altitude.
Yeah, I definitely don't regret like living full time at sea level, and especially in skiing, like generating that power is quite important. With our sprint races can be down to 2.5 minutes, and part of that is downhill. Like, so there is really true like all out power generation that needs to happen. And in trail running, that's not really the case. That you don't need quite as much kind of peak power. So maybe that sport is a little more does a little better with kind of living at altitude and training at altitude full time, especially, you kind of got to look at the distribution of races too, I guess, just like whatever races you're trying to hit, like where those are going to be at. Because, it can kind of change a lot from sport to sport or year to year, like where championships are. So, yeah, I mean, there's advantages to both.
Yeah, it's interesting. All right, let's get off sport. I got to talk to you about Alaska, dude. How do you love living there? The grizzly bears freak me out. Like, you got polar bears way up north. Everything wants to kill you, it seems like. How is it like growing up in an area or a state that's just so wild and so unique?
Oh, I mean, it's awesome. Like, obviously, I'm hooked, I ended up not leaving the state for school, and I don't think I'm going to leave the state beyond this, other than, maybe in grad school and go down temporarily. But this, it's always home. I'm going to live here forever for sure. And yeah, I mean, I guess there's things in the woods that are dangerous for sure, but you don't really hear about like many kids or anything like kind of getting mauled by bears or anything. Like, there's maybe one bear mauling a year across the state, maybe on average. But you don't, I guess, you never heard of it being like your friend in high school or something. It was normally, it's a pretty rare situation maybe. But you come close to moose and you come close to black bears all the time. Grizzly bears, you don't see that often. Their population density is a lot lower, especially like around Anchorage. So you just get used to it, I guess. Like, you all grow up with your own dangers, because I mean, when I go out east in the summer, like I get just deathly afraid of ticks. Like, those so scary to me.
Fair enough.
Like you can't see them, I can see a bear or a moose or whatever. I can't see a tick really. Or like snakes. Like, so many people are scared of snakes. I mean, I don't really want to see snakes. So yeah, you just get used to all those dangers, I feel like. Because yeah, to us, like, I mean, we see moose so regularly. It's just, they're just moose,
Yeah. Yeah. The moose don't bother me as much. It's funny. I live in Colorado, and I ran up on a black bear at like on a lunch run the other day. I got really fucking close to it. I was like, damn, dude. But like he was interested in me. He was a big bear. He was like 200 pounds. But I just couldn't imagine running up on a grizzly. Like that's a little too big for me. Like that's too big and too close. Do you ever like see them in the Anchorage area, or no? They're just like there's not that many of them.
You do see them for sure. This summer's actually been a pretty bad summer for grizzly bears. Like killed a couple moose on some local trails and mauled one person, I think, but they weren't in life-threatening condition. I ran into a mama with a couple cubs, but like honestly, like I don't run into grizzly bears like out running every year. Like it's, maybe every other year I'll have one incident, and it is, incredibly scary when you do, but it's pretty like rare that it happens. And normally, you just back away, make yourself big, kind of let the bear know you're there, and like you'll be all right. Because really, I've only had 2 scary encounters with grizzly bears in my whole life running up here, probably. Yeah, I think just 2 with grizzly bears. And like, we've been charged by moose a couple times. Like, I'd say moose are honestly more of a concern because you see them so often, you just get too used to them. And then when they suddenly decide to not be friendly, it kind of can be a bit of an issue. But yeah, I mean, like, yeah, obviously grizzly bears have incredible power, destructive power if they want. But normally you just don't see them, I guess. I don't know. You just get used to it.
That's so interesting. So cool. I don't know. I just love it. It's always fun to talk to Alaskans just because, like, I don't know. I feel like Colorado has just become, we just have too many people here. So you don't really see as many animals on the trails. It's a little bit less wild. But man, every time I go to like Wyoming or Alaska or something like that, like it's so different. It's so unique. It's, you got to be like just more cognizant of the woods, which is kind of cool. I don't know. It's the Wild West is a sweet place, man. Pretty cool place. Cool place to live.
It definitely depends on like the trails that you're on around Anchorage. Cause I mean, there's some where you're going to be fine. You're always going to be fine. But you got to kind of be cognizant of like what time of year it is. And like, are the salmon running up this stream? Like, cause then maybe you don't want to run the trail that goes next to, Eagle River or something. Like some places like the Eagle River Nature Center will close one of their trails that the salmon are spawning on and bears are eating, So you just got to kind of be aware of where you are and how popular the trail is.
Interesting. Well, listen, man, I think we're pretty close to about 45 minutes now. I think we got everything. Dude, I want to thank you so much for coming on the podcast. This is a great conversation. Wishing you the best of luck as you continue your journey. And dude, I hope we get you, hopefully we can convert you to the trails full time soon. We'll see what happens.
All right, well, be prepared to give me a decade. We'll see.
All right, fair enough. Dude, like I said, so talented. Hopefully we can get you at least more Stork Series races. Hopefully we'll get you out for a few of those next year. And yeah, we'll definitely be in touch. Appreciate it.
All right. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, Michael. Take care, man. Thank you.
Yep. Bye.
What'd you guys think? Thanks so much to Michael for coming on the podcast. Kid is an absolute stud, has a crazy future. Doesn't matter what sport he does, he seems to be good at it. So if we pull him over to the running side, the kid's going to be a world beater, no doubt about it. Guys, the best way you could support Michael is by giving him a follow on Instagram. You can find him at m.earnhart. That's m.earnhart. Give him a follow. Let him know what you thought about the episode. Obviously, he posts some good stuff on there of the different types of training that he's doing. Yeah, definitely give him a follow and let him know what you thought. Guys, the best way you could support the podcast is giving us a 5-star rating and review on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you consume your podcast. And last but not least, most importantly, if you want to support us, you can also support our brand partner, Ultimate Direction. Thanks so much to Ultimate Direction for the support. Guys, if you are in the market for a new pack, any type of apparel, belt, hydration solution, Ultimate Direction has you covered. They actually just dropped a new quiver to go along with their Ultra as well as their race vest. If you're interested or in the market right now, you can get one for 25% off by using code SteepStuffPod. Again, that's code SteepStuffPod for 25% off your cart on ultimatedirection.com. Thanks so much, everyone, for your